Coming up on the Charge on Air. Airports are getting crowded and TSA lines are slowing down. A new deal to end the partial government shutdown is in the works, when TSA agents can finally expect their next paycheck.
Time's ticking on the spring semester, and many students are dealing with a higher workload. How students are powering through the home stretch.
Every artist needs a platform to be successful. Find out how UCF students are getting theirs before they graduate.
In sports, UCF basketball went dancing and came up short. But what's next? How the Knights are entering contract negotiations in the offseason.
The Charge on Air starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Charge on Air. I'm Nick Cohen.
And I'm John Warner. Today is Friday, March 27th, 2026.
Breaking news, the Senate voted in favor of funding the Department of Homeland Security, except for the Immigration Department. Charge on Air reporter Luis Perez tells us how the impasse between parties affected airports around the country, and the issue that had parties go back and forth over funding.
Airports are experiencing days where 40 to 50% of their staff are calling out because they simply cannot afford to report to work.
TSA workers have been reporting to work without pay since mid-February. Airports around the country have seen the longest wait times in TSA history, according to NPR. TSA has missed almost $1 billion in paychecks since the partial government shutdown started. Dr. Aubrey Jewett shared the frustration felt by TSA workers.
There is a promise that you will eventually get paid. But if you're like most Americans living paycheck to paycheck, telling you that you're eventually going to get paid, it's just so incredibly frustrating.
President Trump announced earlier in the week that ICE agents will aid TSA workers at some airports around the country. The list of airports includes cities like New York, Atlanta, and the Southwest Florida International Airport in Fort Myers. The presence of ICE agents has brought a lot of concerns as the controversy with ICE continues.
For the most part, at least from the critics' point of view, all they're there for is to do further intimidation of the American public, and particularly anybody that's got brown skin.
Democrats and Republicans continue to go back and forth to end the shutdown, but can't agree on one topic: ICE.
We need strong reforms, and we need to rein in ICE. We've been consistent in what we've been asking for from the get-go.
Negotiating a deal. I guess they're getting fairly close, but I think any deal they make, I'm pretty much not happy with it.
Negotiations between parties continue at the moment. In Orlando, Luis Perez, The Charge on Air.
Many workers have been forced to look for part-time jobs in order to pay for basic needs.
Passengers aboard an Air Canada Express flight at LaGuardia Airport found themselves in a tense and unexpected situation Sunday evening when their aircraft collided with a vehicle on the runway. Charge on Air reporter Isaac Abdelmessih tells us about the collision and what one aviation expert says about the rarity of the situation.
Stop, truck one, stop, truck one, stop.
Newly released audio from the air traffic control tower at LaGuardia Airport in New York reveals the moment a controller told an airport vehicle to stop from crossing the tarmac. Moments later, Air Canada Express Flight 8646 collided with the vehicle just before midnight on Sunday evening.
The video and audio of the collision were heart-wrenching.
The flight was traveling from Montreal to New York with 72 passengers and 4 crew members on board. The accident claimed the lives of both pilots and injured dozens, according to CBS News. Flight 8646 touched ground on runway 4 at LaGuardia at over 100 miles an hour, according to authorities. After colliding with the vehicle, the plane then spun off to the side of the runway at this area here.
It is not clear who was conducting the duties of the ground controller.
Jennifer Homendy is the chairwoman of the National Transportation Safety Board. The board is charged by Congress with investigating every civil aviation accident in the U.S., according to its website. The NTSB reported 97 aviation accidents in January 2026, 87 in February, and 61 so far in March.
We also have questions about what else was occurring, what other traffic they were dealing with at the time.
Anthony Brickhouse is a former professor of aerospace safety at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach. He explained that he's never seen a situation like this in his 28 years of working in aviation.
I've been doing this for 28 years, and I can't think of a commercial airliner impacting a fire truck, as it's landing. So this is rare.
In Orlando, Isaac Abdelmessih, The Charge on Air.
To learn more about the NTSB's ongoing investigation into Sunday's incident, you can visit ntsb.gov.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is weighing in on the ongoing struggles facing TSA workers as staffing shortages and unpaid employees continue to impact airports nationwide. DeSantis is suggesting a major shift in how airport security operates, proposing the possibility of eliminating the Transportation Security Administration altogether. He argues that airlines and airports could take over screening responsibilities, saying the current system has not improved efficiency or safety. The comments come as many TSA officers continue working without pay amid the federal funding stalemate, contributing to longer lines and staffing challenges at major airports. The proposal is drawing mixed reaction, with supporters pointing to efficiency gains, while critics warn it could raise serious security concerns.
Judge Alvin Hellerstein said the case against former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro won't be dismissed, as Maduro argued for a dismissal over legal fees. The hearing saw Maduro argue that the Venezuelan government should be the ones to pay the legal fees for their side, as he can't pay them on his own. The judge and prosecution went back and forth on alternative payment methods, with Judge Hellerstein concluding he will come up with a decision whether to tell the Trump administration to allow the Venezuelan government to pay the fees. On top of the drug and weapons charge, President Trump said more cases will be brought against Maduro. As of now, no future court date has been set.
Now we continue our coverage of the conflict in Iran. Tensions remain high as the war between Israel and Iran continues to escalate. Israel has ordered the closure of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, citing heightened security concerns tied to the ongoing conflict. Global attention is centered on the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping route responsible for roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Traffic through the strait remains extremely limited as Iran continues to restrict access. The disruption is driving up oil prices and raising concerns about broader economic impacts worldwide. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will pause certain strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure until April 6th, giving time for negotiations and calling on Iran to reopen the strait. The situation remains fluid, with growing international pressure to restore access to the critical waterway.
This afternoon is going to be one of the warmest so far of the year.
Let's bring in student weather anchor Andrew Cherico to tell us what's going on out there.
Yeah, guys, thank you for having me on. We're feeling that real Florida heat right now. Let's take a look at today's current conditions. With this current weather, we're seeing the temperatures rise into 85 degrees, about as hot as we've seen all year so far. The humidity is currently at 55%. The winds are going south at just 1 mile per hour, so it's just hot, 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 no wind, no breeze, and no chance of rain looking at the rest of today. So no need for an umbrella. Go out there, get a tan, enjoy that sun, guys. And then we'll take a look at this week's weather forecast later on. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Andrew. Coming up, how students are getting back in the flow after spring break.
I just don't feel as motivated and as quick to do assignments, where before, at the beginning of the semester, I was peak, yeah, let me get my assignments done.
Find out what UCF students can do to fight burnout when we come back.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
The time in the school year is getting close to zero. Charge On Air reporter Kamani Brown found out if many students have enough gas left in the tank to finish the school year.
UCF welcomed back its students after a well-deserved spring break. But with that return, a lot of students are finding it hard to keep the momentum they had before the break started.
I just don't feel as motivated and as quick to do assignments, where before, at the beginning of the semester, I was peak, yeah, let me get my assignments done.
This spring semester burnout isn't a rare sight. In fact, it's seen between different friend groups and multiple students throughout this time of year.
I think it's common amongst a lot of students. Just talking even with my friends, I'm so tired, I can normally do the assignment, but they're even tired, and I can just imagine other people that I don't even know in other places that are just over school just because of that little break.
The spring semester is finally coming to a close, but with that, the UCF students are starting to feel a fatigue and burnout that comes annually around this time of year. But thankfully, the UCF CAPS program has found ways to be all hands on deck, whether it be virtual or in person, to give students that last extra push they need to finish the semester.
So spring is particularly a little bit more challenging in my opinion than fall or summer. I think some general workshops that could apply to burnout, stress, all of that. There's one coming up on the 30th at 2:30, safety and self-care, stress and the nervous system. So that is all about kind of that topic.
CAPS counselor Katie Bradbury urges students to know that this isn't a rare sight and that they should utilize the CAPS counseling that comes with their tuition. In Orlando, Kimani Brown, The Charge on Air.
You can find weekly agendas detailing CAPS workshops on its Instagram at UCF CAPS.
UCF students stocked up their pantries with fresh produce after spring break. Students lined up for the UCF Farmers Market before it even started, and they were able to fill bags with fresh produce for less than $8. The first 100 students paid only $3 for their bags. Students grabbed their selection from a well-stocked produce line. Event organizer Edgar Carrasco says it's crucial to give all students access to healthy food.
In college, so just making sure that they take time for themselves and seeing out that all these students came out today. I mean, you saw the line, just to grab some fresh produce means that they're going to go home, make a fresh meal. So I think that's really important.
Carrasco says he knows how stressful the time after spring break can be, and having good food is very important. Carrasco says they plan to host another farmers market in the fall. He says students should always look for future student success events on the UCF website.
A new attraction could be on the way to Orlando's newest theme park. In a now deleted permit filed for Epic Universe says Universal is looking to start early site work at the park for a, quote, future attraction. This is the first time a new attraction is mentioned in any permits for the park nearing its first birthday. When the park opened, Universal Park Chairman Mark Woodbury did hint they were looking to expand the park, but the company has not confirmed any details about what that expansion could be.
Knights Records is putting artists on the radar with new opportunities in the industry. Charge on Air reporter Luis Perez had the opportunity to talk to the leaders of the club to see how they are helping UCF artists.
Gives hands-on experience with resources in creative design, marketing rollouts, and workshops. President Danny Mello says what's the importance of giving artists a platform to be in the radar.
It can be very easy to just post digitally, but if you're not physically out there, you don't exist. Ask radio if they could willingly, freely play our artist music. It's like, what do we offer in return?
Mello says the most difficult thing has been starting the club from the ground compared to established RSOs. Knights Records sets up workshops and events to make sure that artists learn what they need to be in the industry. But it is more important the work that happens behind the scenes in order to get opportunities for the artists to showcase their talents. Knights Records has put an emphasis on making sure that artists have a clear path into how to move in the industry by the time they graduate. Vice President Tommy Munoz says why it is important to create a club that gave guidance for the upcoming artists.
We're like seeing that there wasn't really any like club on UCF that was giving like students like really like experience in like what they would be working on in their day-to-day. You just want to continue to grow our team and continue to, make sure that we have a lot of tools available to help both the artists and also our members who are interested in going into the industry.
Munoz says it's important to create an image, especially with so many artists being able to upload on platforms. In Orlando, Luis Perez, The Charge on Air.
Follow what Knights Record is doing on their socials as the company celebrates its 1-year anniversary.
The Florida spring weather seems like it's here to stay.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at the upcoming weekend forecast and a look at the week ahead.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. He won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. One in 3 adults has prediabetes, and you could be one of them. There are usually no signs for prediabetes, so it's important to understand your risk. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
John, it is so humid and hot out right now. It seems like summer has already arrived, per usual. I need to get to the pool ASAP.
Yeah, you do, Nick, because that typical Florida weather is on the horizon. Let's check in with student weather reporter Andrew Cherico. Now, Andrew, is summer already here, or are we just seeing unusually high spring temperatures?
Yeah, thank you guys for tossing. It's honestly, like Nick, like you just said, it's spring, but it's really starting to feel like summer. Let's take a look at the current temperatures around the state of Florida. First, starting on the west coast, you see Gainesville 72 degrees, Tampa 73 degrees. Moving into the middle of the state, Leesburg at 73, Winter Haven 74, and downtown Orlando at 74. Now moving to the Space Coast, you got Palm Coast at 73 degrees and Melbourne at 74 degrees. You can expect all these temperatures to rise into the mid to high 80s later on. Let's now take a look at today's weather current, this week's 5-day forecast. So now going into Saturday, you have 83 degrees at the highest, then you have 65 at the lowest with a 50% chance of rain. Sunday, another warm day, 74 degrees, 64 degrees the lowest, 0% chance of rain. Monday, 79 degree highest, 64 degree lowest, 50% chance of rain. And now as you enter the middle of the week, you start to see the temperatures rise and no rain. Tuesday, 80 highest, 64 lowest, 0% rain. And then Wednesday, 83 degrees highest, 63 lowest, 0% chance of rain. Thank you guys for having me on, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Andrew. Now coming up, UCF came up just short in the first round of March Madness.
What head coach Johnny Dawkins has to say about the upcoming offseason.
You guys know I love UCF. I've been here for over a decade, so it's been my home, my second home, basically.
Find out more in sports when we come back.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
How crazy it is at UCF right now.
Shot clock is running down. UCF Sports are heading into crunch time. I'm Luis Perez, and let's take a look at what happened this week in UCF Sports. For the first time since 2019, UCF men's basketball danced its way back into March Madness. Channel reporter Andrew Cherico traveled to Philadelphia, where the night season came to an end.
UCF men's basketball 2025 through 2026 season has officially come to an end. The Knights made the impressive milestone of reaching the NCAA March Madness tournament for the first time since 2019, but they were knocked out of it early in the round of 64, losing to the UCLA Bruins 75-71. Here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the Philadelphia Sports Complex, behind me, you can see Xfinity Mobile Arena, originally the home of the Philadelphia 76ers, but not for this matchup where the UCF Knights lost to the UCLA Bruins in the round of 64. And getting to speak with team leaders after the game, they knew they gave it their all.
The whole year we've just been relentless competitors. Like, we've been competing since the summer, just not getting complacent or satisfied. Like at where we were at, we just always wanted to get better.
Coach Dawkins gave me the opportunity. I had unbelievable teammates who believed in me, and this was really like a dream come true.
Now, is head coach Johnny Dawkins going to receive a contract extension following the end of next season? Dawkins has led the Knights to 2 NCAA tournament appearances in 10 years, And according to recent reports from CBS Sports' John Rothstein and the Orlando Sentinel's Matt Marshall, all arrows are pointing at an agreement.
Well, you guys know I love UCF. I've been here for over a decade, so it's been my home, or second home, basically.
In Philadelphia, Andrew Cherico, The Charge on Air.
With the season now over, the attention turns to what's next for the program, including a potential new roster and head coach Johnny Dawkins' coaching future. For 13 former UCF football players, UCF Pro Day was all about one thing: proving they belong at the next level. Charge on Air reporter Andrew Cherico switched Philadelphia for Orlando and took a look into how players are pursuing their professional goals.
One day filled with opportunity to reach the next level. 13 former UCF football players had the chance to showcase their talents in front of 29 NFL organizations at UCF's 2026 Pro Day, hosted on campus. And while there are some players who have participated at the NFL Combine, many others haven't had that chance, and this was their moment to display why they should play in the NFL.
I only have one starting season under my belt, so I have the least amount of, I guess you could say, the least amount of work on my tires, so I still have a lot more to go. They're going to get somebody who's going to embrace their role, whatever it is, on and off the field, and try to help the team continue to win ball games. The dream, make it to the NFL, get some money, change my family's life. That's the dream.
Here outside of the Nicholson Fieldhouse, where the 2026 UCF Pro Day took place, behind me you can see the Acrisure Bounce House, home of the UCF football team. They're getting to speak with players like Edge Malachi Lawrence, who's a projected first or second round pick. This is all a dream come true.
It was a blessing, honestly, just seeing all the work that I put in and just seeing it actually come to life, basically. So it's definitely been a blessing.
Last season, RJ Harvey was selected in the second round to the Denver Broncos, making him the highest drafted running back in UCF history. But that's not the trajectory for everybody. The reality is someone just wants a chance to prove why they should be on the team, whether it's a high draft pick, a low draft pick, or even an undrafted free agent. They want to hear that call from the GM.
If you take a shot at me, I'll give you my ball. Yeah, whoever takes a chance on me, they won't regret it.
In Orlando, Andrew Cherico, The Charge on Air.
With the NFL draft now approaching, this former Knights Hope Pro Day was the first step towards hearing their name called. UCF baseball is back home this weekend as they kick off a 3-game series versus Arizona later today in Orlando. The Knights are currently 15-8 on the season and are coming off a loss to Stetson in the Land on Wednesday. Before their defeat, UCF beat TCU 2-1 in a 3-game series last weekend. It was a series in which the Knights scored 18 runs in one win and 9 runs in the other. In their last 7 wins, the Knights have scored 6 runs or better. UCF will want to continue their success on offense behind the bats of catcher Zach Skinner and outfielder John Smith III. The Arizona Wildcats come into this series with a 9-15 record and just 2-4 to start conference play. That's all for sports. Let's take it back to the desk.
Thank you, Luis. That's all the time we have for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on thechargenews.com.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, Knights.